I love organizing things, so curatorial work is kind of perfect for that. And my other special interest is evolutionary biology, and so this fits in really well to see how organisms change and adapt over time. I'm Maddy Dissinger. I'm a sophomore studying biology here, and I work in the collections as part of the Blount Scholars Program doing curatorial work. A lot of the work I did at the beginning of the internship was rehousing specimens. So sometimes our specimens will be like a fossilized coral that's housed in a box that's actually corrosive to it. And so I'll move it into a better, maybe a smaller container so that we take better advantage of the space. So yeah, a lot of organizing and rehousing. The two main projects I've been working on are the crinoids. We got a donation of a bunch of fossilized crinoids, so I rehoused, labeled those, entered them into our database, and then the second big project is a collection of trackways, so big slabs of slate that have fossilized footprints in them, and I'll take those, saw off any excess stones that were saving space, and then label those and put them back in the collections. For rehousing, it's just mostly like taking specimens out of the old casing, putting them into new ones, kind of picking out what they go in. As far as labeling goes, I'm working with gesso, which is a type of acrylic paint, to put a little strip of white paint on there and then writing the label in archival ink and then covering it with something called B72. It's just a clear protectant to keep that label from being messed up. This number at the top in bold, that's the collections number. It kind of links to an online database. Like there's only one specimen with this number, and anytime you look that up, it brings you back to this specimen. We have the taxon, which is like the species and genus, that's what this is. The locality, which is where it was found, the site that they dug it up at. The stratigraphy, which is, and the age, which is kind of like the rock formation it was in and the age of the fossil. And then who collected it, because if you donate a bunch of stuff to the collections, you're going to want to be remembered and the date it was collected. I've been kind of involved in the process from the ground up. This donation came to us with different labels that the collectors had put on it, and so I input all that information into a spreadsheet online, and then I create a Microsoft Access file that formats the labels, takes the information from that spreadsheet and puts it in a printable form, and then cut that out and put it with the specimens. The bigger specimens will have it physically on them so that even if this card gets lost, you can still figure out what it is. The vials, this is pretty much as small as you get, and some of them are even within a tiny gel cap because they're so small you wouldn't want to lose them. So it's really important to keep specimens organized because we'll have a lot of researchers come in and want to look at a particular specimen that is relevant to their research. Researchers in the field will unearth a mosasaur jaw, which comes in like a bunch of different segments. It probably won't show up on camera, but there's a bunch of little pieces here. And so it comes to me in like 10 little pieces, just chunks of bone, and I take essentially a really strong adhesive and apply it, kind of glue the two pieces together, hold them until they dry, and just fit them together like a puzzle. Like they all fit together pretty well. Also, a lot of our specimens are used as teaching fossils to show to students to help them learn more, so it's important to know where those are and keep them in good shape. This is all about preserving history, preserving ancient ecosystems so that we kind of have access to all this data all the time. It's a lot of research-based data. So essentially a collection is just like a giant data bank, but it's all physical stuff that we can look at and interpret. It's really great to have a huge collections because maybe you have a ton of specimens from the same time and place, and you can be like, oh, this is how these might have interacted, this is how they all fit into the larger ecosystem. It's also interesting to have a really deep level of collections from a large time span to be kind of like, oh, maybe this is how the specimen changed over time. The museum is just kind of like the front of it. So we swap out specimens all the time so that people really can get the most interesting experience. It changes a lot.
I want you to tell me about Dr.
Klompmaker.
What has it been like working with Adiel and getting his expertise on these things?
It's been great. I mean, I don't think I've ever met anybody who knows so much about fossils. It's just like a walking encyclopedia of, oh, this is what this is, and this is where it's from and when it's from. As far as my legacy almost, one of the projects that I worked on was developing and printing new labels. So these are, the labels in these specimens are going to be in the collections potentially eternally as just kind of like a physical marker of me being here, which I think is really cool.